BulkLoads Podcast, your number one resource for everything bulk freight trucking.
All right, that's the concept.
Hey guys, Jared Flinn with the BulkLoads Podcast. Got Tyler in here with me.
What's going on?
Summertime, man.
It is. It's the best week of the year.
4th of July?
4th. Yeah. It's my favorite time. I love the fireworks and all the family gathering and everything.
Yeah, so this 4th of July is kind of our family's holiday. We started inviting people over years ago. And Joe, I'm going to give you a picture if you want to throw up here. But every year it's gotten bigger and bigger. We host at our house. And it's been cool to see our kids as they were this big, now this big with their friends, and just having a really fun time. So, yeah. And it's America, man.
I turned into a little kid around fireworks. I'm like, dude, I know it's like burning money, but like I go all out with them.
Yeah. So, to your family, happy 4th of July this week. Hopefully you get to spend time. Don't blow off any hands or fingers in the process.
Keep all your limbs. Before we jump into the truck feature today, I just want to remind everyone, we got this shirt hanging up, the 4th of July shirt. Even though you may get it after the 4th, we still have a few hundred left. So if you still want one, you haven't received one yet, we're going to link in the description how you can get one. You simply just click the link. You'll fill out the address of where we can ship it to, and we'll get it on its way to you. So, 4th
of July, fair shirt. I mean, any summer gathering. So
America in general. Yeah.
I love the shirt. Actually, I've had a lot of people compliment me on it. And it's awesome. Like they notice it, how it looks. So.
Yeah, very cool. Well, the truck feature we have today is Jason Wright with TMA Trucking out of Memphis, Missouri. Jason's been a member since 2022, so we thank you, Jason, for submitting this picture, and it's a cool one.
Yeah,
definitely like the
black on black.
Yeah, the sunset in the background. I really like the lights coming down on the bottom of the truck, and they kind of take that angle. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, and the fenders.
Yeah. I like the rigs with the lights on them. Yeah,
awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. If you would like to have your truck featured on the podcast, just send, you can do it through different ways, but podcast@bulkloads.com. Yep. We're on social. You can send in any message that way. If you're listening to this, you can drop it down and just add it in the comments below, and we'll add it on there. We would love to feature it out there. And man, who doesn't like watching or looking at trucks?
Yeah, I do.
So cool. Well, today's guest, I'm going to bring on Riley George, which actually you are good friends with Riley's brother.
Yep.
Wyatt George. Did you guys go to school together? Is that right?
We hung out. We met in college and just connected.
The wives
right away, close. The wives are close. Yeah. Wyatt's been always a good dude. And I mean, he's a truck driver, man. Like he lives and breathes it, and you can tell that's just their whole family thing. And then I got connected with Riley. Wyatt introduced me, and it's cool to see how he's kind of doing the other side of the business. And he's a very sharp dude.
Yeah. So the whole family, I mean, Riley, who you're going to hear in a little bit, he's third generation. The grandpa started, and George exchanged up out of Southeast Missouri. And, the dad is in the business, and then I guess there's an uncle too.
Yep.
But then now Riley's still in the business, but he works for BMO Bank, and then his brother, Wyatt, who lives here in town. And actually, when you look at the very intro of this podcast, the picture of the hopper and the guy rolling the tarp, that's Wyatt on here. So, but anyways, dude, Riley, I'm kind of following my words here, but this show was amazing. I always say, some of our biggest downloads is when we talk about what the industry's doing, we talk about the data, or we talk about trucking regulations. This is one that you're going to hear data. This guy too, there's some guys that can talk about this, and it's so easy to understand.
Yeah.
And that's why I met Riley. He came to our conference back in April and asked him to come by into the studio and record this. And without a doubt, you're going to love this show.
Yeah. He presents some really good information, and like I said, he gets a whole nother side of it because of what he does with the bank and the equipment financing and the number of companies that he's working with. You talked about it in the show, but he sends out a weekly report of just the state of the industry that he now sends to our entire office. But just the information that he unpacks, and that is really good. He has some really good points that it seems like a trend now of what we're seeing episode after episode. But he does have some encouraging words of kind of some advice of, if you're a trucking company right now struggling, whether you're a one truck guy or 20 trucks, he gives some word of advice of what you can do right now with the state of the industry.
Yeah, and we'll unpack some of that after the show there at the end. So cool. Well, with that said, here is my conversation with Riley George of BMO Bank. Riley, thanks for coming to the studio.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
And I think we're going to unpack a lot, but just to kind of set the stage, man, you come from a generation of trucking, family trucking. Your brother, which I know is a member on BulkLoads. Well, you're a member on BulkLoads through the company.
Yeah.
But I've got to know your brother really well. So excited for you to be on here and what we're really going to talk about today. But yeah, talk about the generations. Your grandpa starting up in trucking.
Yeah. So my grandpa, he's been trucking since the late 50s or early 60s. Started out hauling lumber in our part of the country, back before deregulation. And, he had 3 sons. My dad was the middle of them. We also had a family farm over in southeast Missouri. Dad got old enough to drive, followed right into his shoes. My brother and I did, believe it or not. Sitting here, I did the same thing. But yeah, we are third generation behind the wheel. I'm CDL holder. I'll drive a truck. I'm going to be driving one tomorrow, actually. So we come from a long line of them. I'm very proud of it. It's one of those industries once it kind of sinks its teeth into you don't ever get it out of you.
Yeah. So obviously your brother's still driving. Dad's still driving, and then you're kind of running. We were talking about this earlier, kind of the back scenes of the business of the company. But you've taken a little bit different path. I mean, you're in the family business, but you also you've kind of had a variety of roles in the trucking industry, but just from a different angle. But I saw you'd worked for a truck dealership for a while.
I did. Actually, believe it or not, before I got into the banking side of it, I've got more experience in the dealership. I came to St. Louis to go to college and drove a local roofing delivery truck. And when this is back in the early 2010s, whenever the tornadoes hit the airport up there, everybody and their brother got in the roofing business, and kind of, small family business I worked for, we kind of got put under, and I was looking for a job and went to Larson Group, gave me a chance selling trucks, and worked with my college schedule. So just hustled trucks for them for about 5 years, and went over to Kenworth and Fenton, which was closer to my house. They were opening a dealership over there. The group out of Illinois had bought it and was remodeling it, and got an opportunity to be the assistant general manager and then move into the general manager role there. So I ran that dealership for a little over 6 years.
Okay.
So a lot of experience with PACCAR. PACCAR's in my blood. And then my role that I'm in now, I'm Vice President of Transportation and Finance for BMO there in St. Louis. The gentleman that was in my role after 33 years retired.
Okay.
We had worked with BMO a lot, and I got an opportunity to come fill his shoes, and it was just a good transition for me to come over and take that on. And went from having 49 people under my belt to 5. That helped me and at the same time all this was happening, our trucking company was growing, and so I seen an opportunity to have a little more flexibility to help with the backside of the family business and get it to the next level, and just use my knowledge of the industry and what I see every day to kind of help keep the buffers up for us.
Yeah.
So see the do's and don'ts.
So talk about BMO, and I didn't know this, and you start sending your weekly or forwarding their weekly reports that BMO puts out, but talk about BMO for those that don't know. I mean, because they're very involved in the trucking industry, specifically with truck leasing, or not leasing, but financing for trucking or trucks and truck parts and all that.
Yeah, so BMO is we're the biggest and the oldest in trucking. We're proud to, we're taunting on all of our marketing propaganda. If you see it, this is our 50th year in the business.
Oh, nice.
And, none of us are not aware of the state of the industry right now. And so there's a lot of banks pulling out of it, and we're keeping our heels dug right in, standing next to our customers when a lot of our competition is not. And we're very proud of that. We're here for the long haul. We will finance equipment for the individual owner operator. up to our big. I mean, we deal with the biggest carriers in the country, so we work with every shape and size, and our approach to the market is, obviously we want to lend you money. We want to earn your deposit relationship. We want to have those lines of credit in place. But we really try to use our experience to not be a financial advisor and tell you how to invest, but try to give you guidance, kind of be that hybrid between a CPA and a financial advisor. Say, hey, look, you're struggling here. We've seen this work for others, but try this, just to kind of give that advice. Or, hey, are you sure you want to, go out and buy 10 tankers right now with the state of the industry, or 10 dry vans, just try to provide that little bit of experience.
And geographically, where is BMO?
So we just acquired Bank of the West, which brought our footprint into the 11 Western states. We're predominantly through the Midwest, so it's all line from Ohio, through Colorado. Basically, we were through the central part of the United States, but now we're in the 11 Western states as well. Transportation Finance Division is based in Irving, Texas.
Okay.
But we've got commercial banks scattered all over in every major metropolitan map. So.
And the headquarters is in?
For BMO?
Yep.
Montreal, Canada. It's Bank of Montreal. We're a Canadian-based bank. We are the United States U.S. division, and we have a big commercial headquarters in Chicago as well. But transportation specifically is based in Dallas.
Hey guys, I want to pause real quick and just say thank you for listening and happy 4th of July to you and your family. Hopefully you're spending this holiday with your loved ones and taking a moment to reflect on just the great country that we live in and the blessings that we have. We have been just so blessed by God to have this country that we can call the great US of A. Hope you're enjoying this podcast with Riley George. We have really taken an effort this year to bring high quality content for our listeners to use and digest and hopefully make better decisions for their business. We know the industry's tough right now. If you are on bulk loads and maybe not having the success you want, reach out to us. We have a team of professionals that talk to thousands of companies, show our newest tools and techniques on the load board. Let us show you some things that maybe you didn't know that you could do on there, some ways that you can send direct shipper emails, get your truck posted, and really get in contact with those companies to get you the freight you needed. Or if you are brand new, never been on bulk loads, been interested, sign up today. Let us give you a demo and show you how we can get you connected. We know the industry's tough out there, and we are doing everything we can to get you connected with the right people. Just go to BulkLoads.com, click sign up, and we can walk you through. Again, if you're on there, reach out to us via phone or send an email to support@BulkLoads.com. And let us show you. I mean, we want to get you connected, and we want you to be successful. Again, happy 4th of July, and God bless you all.
We're going to get into talking about the state of the industry because I think that's what most of these listeners want to hear about. But I guess I'm just more curious, how did they get so big into truck financing, truck and trailer financing?
Well, it actually goes back to the old associates days, as most people remember, out of Kansas City. That was bought by Citigroup.
Okay.
Citigroup was acquired by GE Capital, which BMO acquired in 2013. So back 50 years ago, if people don't know who we are, we're the old associates. So any of our older listeners, they're going to remember us as associates back in the day.
Okay.
So same group, the head of our division, he's been at the helm since this 37th, 38th year at the helm. So a lot of knowledge at the top of the rank too.
And you have companies from, you're telling me, one to two up to some of the largest carriers in the United States, right?
Yeah. Your mega carriers, name them, going down the highway, your big box carriers, they all do business with BMO. So me personally, my biggest customer runs about 1,200 trucks, 2,500 trailers. Drive-in, it doesn't matter, drive-in, flatbed, reefer, hopper bottom, the bulk industry, it's all under our wheel helm. One thing I like to talking about that is a lot of banks you work with, when we get into the times we're in right now, I'm segueing into the economy.
Yeah.
They want to box trucking up and put us all in one big umbrella and under one big umbrella and say, oh, it's just terrible everywhere in our industry right now. And it is, it's not the greatest of what we're not in our best year ever, haven't been. But some are doing better than others, as I talk to clients specifically in the bulk industry, we're seeing some tough times. But I can tell you, there's a lot worse out there right now.
Yeah.
And so when we our approach to the market, we don't box our customers up. I'm not going to compare my 5 truck guy that has 5 hopper bottoms to my customer that has 500 dry vans. That's just that's not the right approach. But a lot of people act that way in our business. So.
Let's get into the industry, and I just found this fascinating. You were saying like we're at levels that upper management, the guy running your all's company has not seen in his 37 years. Talking about the industry, I've been in this for getting close to 20 years. I've seen some of these recessions, and let's just talk about that because I find that fascinating.
Oh yeah, well. It's the downturn in 08 was tough. One of the toughest, and also in the early 2000s in the tech bubble. But the problem with the one we're in now is just how long it's been. When we first started seeing the ripples in May, June of 22, they really started to turn up in October of 22. Any recession, any freight downturn we've seen prior to this is came back just about as quick as it went down. This one turned up. We went from 100 to 0 very, very fast. It was a very sharp downturn, and it's just continued to lag on. We just keep bouncing along the bottom. And our economists that work for us, we look at spot rates every day and look at different data points, and we keep saying, well, one more quarter. Well, now we kind of talked earlier in the year and said, if we don't see something here by summer, we're not going to see anything change until after the election at this point, because any time you're in an election year, no matter how good the freight industry is, it stagnates. You don't see a ton of growth. You'll see in good years, you'll see that guy that normally buys 5 trucks, he'll buy 5. It won't be, I'm going to trade in 5 and buy 7, and grow by 2. Those just don't happen. And so you couple that with the fact that we're seeing rock bottom pricing. It's just going to be, I think, until the election is over, we're not going to see much. And we've heard that the Fed's going to lower rates here probably in the fall of the year, maybe a second one towards the end of the year. We'll see. But just looking at all these factors, unfortunately, it's going to be tough the rest of the year. I think we're going to be 25, even if we see these downturns, and when I say downturns in interest rates and we start to see a comeback, I just don't think there's going to be that period of just breathing again, right? Where these companies are getting their feet back under them, like, okay, let's get back to work. So 2025 is, I think we'll see some positivity. I think it'll be a good year. I think we'll start to see a pre-buy of trucks because we've got the new emission standard coming out for 2027 emissions. So that which will be the 2026 will be the year you're buying your 2027 year model trucks. So 2025 will be a big buy year for, I think, a lot of carriers that want to try to update their fleet as much as possible before the new emissions hit. And they haven't bought anything in the last couple of years because of what we're faced with. Yeah. So I think 2025 has got a lot of reasons to be positive. And I hope I'm right about that, but we've been playing this guessing game for a year now.
Well, I want to dwell just a little bit on the why, because I just find that fascinating, and we can say some of this kind of speculation. Mm-hmm. But I mean, one thing for sure, there's been more larger carriers in this cycle that we've seen go out of business, bankrupt. And you didn't, some of these other cycles, you see a cleanup, and some of these small companies, these people that got into it when it was hot and they're flushing back out. Right. But man, we're seeing 100-year-old companies, 500 plus trucks.
They cannot run it.
Bankrupt. Well, I guess and it's funny, Jesse Runyons, who I've had on our podcast, Wealth of Knowledge, we kind of talked about this before a little bit, but what happened to cause these companies that you thought were solid, financially solid, to not make it into this recession?
Well, a couple of different reasons. Number one, I think some tried to grow maybe a little too aggressively when freight rates were really good. Didn't hold on to as much cash as probably what they should have. And secondly, I mean, we're just running out of cash. I mean, the last 2 years, I can't tell you how many clients that I work with that are just burning cash to stay afloat right now, and to try to flush those bottom feeder carriers out of it. That's what you typically do in these cycles is you just have enough reserve to do that. But it's been so long that you just can't outrun it. It's survival of the fittest right now. I think the last statistic I read was there's been 12,000 DOT numbers surrendered through this recession. And I hate to say that, but I hate to see anybody out of work, but we're gonna have to tighten up capacity. There's just too many trucks on the road, and we're starting to, that's why we're starting to see it in the bulk industry a little bit more. I laugh. I went to Kansas a couple of weeks ago with my brother, and how many you can see the newbies, coming into our industry, and you can tell, you see these guys pulling hoppers, and they're on, low pro 22 tires and tall sleepers, and they're not hopper guys, and you're like, you were pulling a van last week, weren't you?
Yeah.
They're trying to outrun it. And that's all it is.
I think in speculating here too, you talk about when the industry was so hot in just general freight, like these trucking companies, they had these customers they had to serve. These customers are demanding more capacity. So they're not almost, I wouldn't say they're being forced, but they got to meet that capacity to keep that customer. So they're buying more trucks, get more on the road. Well, now they're stuck with that capacity. The customer doesn't need them.
Right. And not to mention they overpaid for that equipment.
And they overpaid for it because everything was sky high.
You're 100% right. 100% right. Trucks, trailers, it all was very, very expensive during that time. And we were, it got to the point for us at the bank, we were like, we know this is going to turn around at some point, and we don't know how bad that's going to be, what that's going to look like, but I'm not going to own this truck if it's a typically $160,000 truck and you're buying it for $220,000. I understand you need the equipment, but I can't put that much money into it. If God forbid things turn over tomorrow, I don't want to own that truck. I don't want to repo that truck for $220,000. I'll repo it for $160,000. Yeah, because I know I can sell it and get out from underneath it at that point. We were forced to have some of those tough conversations, and looking back at it now, it wasn't good at the time, but I'm glad we did. Hats off to BMO, not me. BMO's done a really good job of, at the time we were like really wanting to get these deals, and they were saying, no, we're going to ask for some down payment on this. This is way too much and good learning experience for me. But looking at that now, I'm glad we walked away from some of those deals because we're navigating a very low, delinquency ratio compared to our entire portfolio, very low in terms of repos compared to some of our peers. We do have them, and they're as high as they've ever been. But I think compared to our peer group, we're one of the lowest. And so I'm glad we took that approach. I think some of our customers that we deal with are glad we gave them that advice at the time. Looking back at it, but.
You were talking before the recording. I thought this was awesome, and you get to see this from a different lens, and you get to see the whole landscape. You get to see the general freight, the reefer, flatbed, dry van, the hopper, all the different bulk. But you kind of said that, and I want you to kind of show. You talk about the cycles of each, and the thing is, bulk is still relatively pretty good. If you're looking at the general freight, and again, I'm not trying to say the bulk is great right now, but
so that's the best way to describe it. This is reefers and dry vans, right? And here's hoppers. We're right down the middle. We weren't seeing the $6, 7 crazy stuff, but we're also not seeing the $1.90 stuff right now either, So
well, you said, hopefully Wyatt listens to this, but he was complaining the other day at a 240-mile rate or something. And
I'm like, Wyatt, you trust me, there's a lot worse freight out there. I know I've got several clients that would kill to have $2.40 mile per mile freight. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's tough, and I feel for them. And the best thing I can say, and I'm not long in the tooth in this industry. Just have a background in it, but what I see in times like this, and they get frustrated at banks because we have trouble lending into it in these times, is everybody wants to try to do something different, new and innovative, and we try to say it's no different anywhere you go right now, and really you're going to be worse off thinking you can park your hoppers and go pull a flatbed because you've got to go try to build that relationship with that new customer. It's hard we're already in a bad time. I know what flatbeds are doing, and I know you're not going to have dedicated lanes everywhere you go. So you're going to be relying on that spot rate, which is awful.
Yep.
So we have a hard time with that. We're trying to, coach some of our customers, say, hey, we just need to stay in our lane. Everybody needs to hold tight to what they're doing, tighten the belt where you can. and let's just get through it. And to that, I mean, when you fall on hard times, we just ask that you just be honest with us. Like, we understand we're not naive to what it's doing, and we want to keep you in business. We're not here to call our notes and
does you guys no good. I mean,
I don't want to own that equipment,
Yeah.
and I don't want to, lose your deposits. I mean, that's where we make money off deposits and work off that money too. We want to keep that business in house as much as we can. But what gets really disheartening for me is, you work all these years to build these relationships with people, and we fall in these hard times, and then, we have clients that fall delinquent on payments, and they just ghost us. I personally pick up the phone and call these guys and say, hey, what's going on? Like, can we do a 3-month extension? Can we modify this somehow to help you get through it?
Yeah.
And you can't get people to answer the phone. That's the worst thing you can do, because then if I can't get a phone call in 3 months, I'm going to go hunting for the equipment. And that's not what I want. That's not what I would rather us work through this. And then you remember this a year from now. And so my interest rate might be a little higher than somebody else's, but you remember I was there for you when it was tough, Same thing. And I remember that whenever, you can get a cheaper interest rate, but you went with me because we have a good relationship. Like, it works both ways. We're partners. We don't need to be enemies, especially right now. We need to work together.
Yeah. This is like such good practical advice. And I mean, just any relationship in business, because you're going to have these hard times, and it's really how you respond in these times to set the tone. And again, the industry will come back up.
Yes.
We know it will.
Yeah.
We're going to have another crash, but how do you work together,
right,
with providers to make sure that, everybody's on the same page,
right,
and everybody's got to win in this.
Yeah. You're 100% right. We all got to work together. Like I said before, we're all in business to make a profit, right? We don't put our pants on for free, but we just need to be fair with one another and realize that. I think times like this, I hate to see them last as long as they have, but I think sometimes these times are good reality checks for us to make sure we're not getting lazy with our operations, that we are running good, efficient machines. Hopefully not 2 years long of a reality check, 6 months maybe, but it's good for us.
Yeah.
But it needs to come back, and we need to get back to just doing business as usual.
We have a sign out here in our hallway that says, adversity only makes us better. And it's like, it's so tough where you're in those moments, but it's those moments that it's hopefully going to propel you professionally and personally in your business.
Yeah. And, you're going to be, 2 years down the road, we're going to be sitting here doing a podcast on something else about some other constraint in the industry, and we're going to be saying, man, you remember back 2 years ago when the freight was such a tank? Now we're making $4 a mile and $5, whatever the case is. But now we can't keep these trucks running because they got this new emission system or whatever it is. But I was talking to a young truck salesman here not too long ago, and he's like, man, I just can't wait for that normal year in truck sales where I can just sell. And I'd tell him, I said, buddy, there's no such thing as normal in this business. We'll get through this hurdle, and there'll be another one right behind it. But this one's pretty tough.
Yeah. I want to kind of switch a little gears, and I think this is worth saying, and not to dwell on this, but we were talking a little bit earlier, and again, you're wearing a different lens because, I mean, you're in this business working with other truck lines, part owner in a trucking business, very passionate about the trucking industry. Yes. But, in a sense, the industry can be, there could be a lot of predatory things that happen to these small business owners. We try to do everything from from the very beginning, starting BulkLoads, is to really help the small business owner in any size. We support them all, but we really saw our heart and passion is helping that small company not get taken advantage of. Right. Helping them, serving them at a fair price, value, and all that. But it was interesting. You noticed that too, and just how much. But I just love to hear kind of your heart behind.
I absolutely hate to see these guys taken advantage of like they are, and quite honestly, they just don't know any better, know. And in the dealership specifically, I've seen this all the time where, we always treated our customers fairly. I tried to instill that in my people in the dealership was, look, we're going to make money. They know we're going to make money. Let's just be fair with everybody. Let's win every deal. Let's not get rich on our customers today. Let's get rich on them over time where we have all their business. I don't want to just sell them 2 filters. I want to sell them 2,000 filters or, whatever the case may be. We would sell these filters. Guys would come in I'm just using filters as an example because I can think of one example as a reefer guy pulls in chicken hauler from out west somewhere, pulls in, just needed filters. He's, servicing his truck. And sold them to me. He goes, man, I bought a set. They were like $27. One was one, and one was $50. And he's like, man, I paid almost triple this at the truck stop, on my last oil change. I really appreciate that. You guys don't know me from Adam. But like, because he did remember that, like anytime he was passing through St. Louis, if he might stop by wiper blades, just something silly, and just those little things you do. He found a place he felt safe. You know what I mean? And that to me just really, watching my dad and my grandfather and my brother today, how hard they work, how much time they spend away from their families. I can't stand for people to be taken advantage of. I know how hard they work, and you have to, it's a tough life. You have to want it. You have to want to be behind that wheel, and it's just not fair for them to be taken advantage of so far away from their home, out of their element completely most of the time. And I won't stand for it.
Yeah. And I'd like to say this was me. My father-in-law always instilled me when we first started BulkLoads. He was in the Walmart glory days and worked right underneath, the greatest retailer of all time, Sam Walton. But it was interesting. Sam had this discipline. It was never about the price. It was like, what's the best value we can bring to the customer? And honestly, he was always trying to figure out what's the least price that we can make on something and make a profit, and give the customer the largest value. And again, Walmart's probably a little bit different today, but back then they were known as just that, best price, best value, and obviously where they are today. And he always said that. He said, just Jared, always remember, give the customer the best value. Don't worry about the price. The money will come along. And that's always instilled in us. And, we've created different companies over the years, but it's never been about trying to maximize profits and but it's been like, hey, provide the best value and service, and everything else will take care of itself.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had the similar mentality. The best deal is the one you and I agree on at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So, and hopefully we both it makes us both a little bit along the way, and we just continue to make those deals that work for both of us. I mean, that's how capitalism should work, right?
Yeah.
But
that's good. Before we end, you, I said this earlier, have a great report, I think, done by your economist that you send out. And I may be speaking on turn. Is that sent can people get access? Do you send that to can anybody get that? Because I just want to say that's an awesome industry report that comes out, and it kind of shows you what the industry's doing, where fuel's at, what the different data, and what are some of those metric points? And then I guess last, and we can put it in the show notes here, how does someone get on that list?
So I mean, the easiest way, it would be to just reach out to me directly. If you want to shoot me an email, and we can put that in the show notes or whatever. But and I'll put you on my list and get it sent out to you. But yeah, a lot of the data points are just geared towards what fuel prices are doing every week, what real GDP is from week to week. Consumer spending on services, consumer spending on goods. What ocean containers, what we're doing for exports, imports, that plays a big role as much as, it is a huge role in trucking. What rail's doing from week to week, follow construction in there as well, because when you see an uptick in, residential and commercial construction, that usually generates freight, right?
Yeah.
So it has all those factors, and it shows the week past spot rates, what they were across what the national average was there for, reefer van, flatbed, all your different, that we don't have one for hoppers, but obviously if we've talked to, the bulk industry is a little different animal. So, don't have one for that, but it is really good. It's just a quick read.
Well, I like some of and even some of the commentary on there. You look at, I can just remember one, like if you look at a trend seeing ocean rates going up, that means that demand's picking up, and that should be favorable to the trucking. But on the flip side, if you see ocean rates going down or capacity, and that can have a negative effect. But you can kind of start, matching these metrics up.
I have people that on my list that I send to, they're not even trucking. They just like to read it because it fascinates them how it all ties together, how rail and ocean and trucks, how we all have to work together. And that, I think that read does a good job with that. And it's just, like 5 or 6 pages, whatever we put together that week and get it out. I think that the more knowledge we can share amongst ourselves, the better.
Yeah. Well, we'll put your email in the show notes. So if you're listening or watching this, just drop down and we'll get you Riley's email to get a hold of that. Just to end this out, Riley, and for our listeners out there that are all different listeners, but maybe some guys are on hard times. They're trying to figure this out. Obviously, they got payments, low rates.
Yeah.
I mean, just things are just happening. Like, what advice would you give those companies out there?
I would stay humble. I mean, we're just going to have to tighten the belt right now and stay after. Don't give up. Don't give up. It's going to get better. You've got to right now we've got to pick up the pennies. You just can't step over pennies to pick up quarters at this point in the cycle. Pay attention to your fuel prices. I mean, fuel is kind of on a downward trend right now, but I would just say anywhere you can find to save a buck right now to keep your operating cost as low as possible, you need to do that. Operating cost is key in this because there's nothing you can do about the freight rates. The only thing you can do is control your overhead and keep it as tight as possible.
That's awesome. The last one, this is more on a humorous note. I want you to show, this guy is so in on trucking. His socks have trucks on. You got to just if you can put your foot on the table just to show this real quick. Like, look at this. This guy, like.
Yeah, it's a shame. I tell everybody all the time, like, if you put me in a role like banking, like trying to sell like a safety deposit box or like a mortgage, I'd be terrible at it. Or even trying to like finance a pencil, I couldn't do it. He just put me in the trucking industry, and that's where I think at the end of the day, like I like sitting around talking about trucking and hearing from everybody, you know. And if we have a place that we fit, we try to fit and help. But I'll be the first one to tell you, I get calls from clients. Today on the way down here, we're not going to work. It's just not going to work. I'm going to be too high, or it's just. But here's what I think you can do. You know, yeah. I don't try to just tell folks no. But that all starts with a conversation, you know, and hearing folks out. And I think a lot of times just us having those conversations, we come up with better ideas. And especially right now, talking about what you're just talking about, everybody's on hard times. Everybody's trying to save a penny. But don't neglect your equipment through this. I will say that. Don't neglect the equipment. Don't neglect the equipment.
Well, man, thanks for coming on this. I just want to say this, man. I love with your experience and, you know, the family you grew up in and the generation and just your cycle and how you've come into this industry, man. And you can tell your heart's in it. Yeah. I mean, we all have to make money, but like you really care about the industry as a whole and the people that are in it. So, man, I just want to say I think God's specifically equipped you to be where you are today, and God bless people like you that are out there serving other people for this. So
I appreciate that. I wish we had more young folks in our business. That's the shame of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to want it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, man, I look forward to, I'm going to selfishly ask for you to come back on down the road. I think, absolutely. And hopefully we'll be speaking in a lighter lens than the market's up and running and running hot. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's cool.
And if any of your clients want, or any of your, our listeners, bad to say clients, I'll put my contact info out there.
Yep.
If anybody even just wants to talk, we are regionalized, so I'm sure we have clients out there that I can't touch just because of the way BMO works, but I do have partners across the country. And if you just want somebody to talk to, somebody wants to just bounce ideas off of me, I'd be glad to have that conversation.
Awesome. Cool. Riley, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Jared.
You bet.
Tyler, one thing that was interesting about Riley, and more importantly, the company worked for BMO, which they're based out of Canada, but I didn't realize they're one of the largest lenders for truck and trailers.
I didn't either.
Semi-truck and trailers. That's huge. I didn't know that was them. But they actually back, or they're kind of the party that backs some of these bigger dealerships and does the financials for them. So a lot of times if you're going to a dealership and borrowing money, usually BMO Bank is on the backside actually doing the financing for that.
Yeah. And I love Riley's take on, he talks about whenever he was, selling trucks at the dealership, but he was just like, you can just tell he's a passionate dude, but he was saying like, I really hate whenever truckers get screwed over. And I think that comes from his family being in trucking, his brother. Absolutely. And him even, being a part of the trucking business. But yeah, and I think that's a part of what he's doing today with the equipment financing, is because he said that a large part of their thing as a bank is to also advise these guys on, hey, like, maybe this isn't a smart financial decision, or, you should take a look at this and, add equipment here or whatever. So they're actively giving advice to these guys too.
Probably the most single thing I remember Riley saying, this is just simple, practical advice. He said, like, we know the market's hard, and if you're getting into trouble, or not trouble, but like things are getting tough, like, just communicate with him.
Yeah.
Like we're saying, and we've been on that side too with Smart Freight and others. Like, man, when you go silent, you don't communicate, even though things are rough, like that's when things get worse. But if you be open, a lot of these companies, they will work with you. You know, a lot of people, like Riley said, like they don't want to see anybody go out of business, and like they want to do everything they can to make sure that they stay in business and hopefully get back on track when demand picks back up.
Yeah.
So,
and I think a positive outlook of this episode is that he said, you know, their projections, whenever 2025 comes, is whenever things will really start correcting itself.
yep, I believe that too.
Yeah, right now everybody knows we're overcapacitated, but he, you know, and right now with the election going on, we always see the same cycle.
Decisions.
Nobody's going to make any decisions. So I think 2025, yeah, we can see some hope there.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Riley, man, God bless you. Thank you for coming on. Like you said earlier, Tyler, man, he is passionate about this. Obviously, he's got skin in the game. He's part of a trucking company, and man, you can just tell he lives and breathes trucking and loves this industry so much. So, yeah, we'll put Riley's information below. Tyler said it before. He sends out a weekly report. If you want to contact him, he said just email him, and he will put you on that report. There's no cost, and I get it every week. And dude, I love it. Like it's a little bit. It just gives me a little bit of pulse, something that I can talk about and know a little bit more about what's going on. So yeah, make sure drop down in the episode notes and contact Riley for that report.
I got to send him an email and find out where he got those socks, man.
Oh yeah, I did. I'm glad.
We got to make some specific like bulk hauler socks, like just specific for bulk hauling.
What would be specific on bulk hauling?
We just a truck pulling a hopper or something. Like I feel like anything trucking like that is just general freight. Like nobody wants to incorporate like a hopper or anything.
Yeah, maybe American flag on there.
Yeah, there you go.
So awesome. A couple of things before we head out of here. You know, Riley talked about just the market being tough, cash flow being tight. We want to just highlight Smart Freight Funding.
Yep.
You may know about it, may not know about it. Smart Freight Funding, it's a sister company of ours. We work hand in hand together. Ladies are based up out of Omaha. They keep factoring super simple. Again, there's no contracts. There's no minimums or maxes. If you have accounts that you want to deal with directly that are paying you fast, that's fine. And if you have ones that are slower paying, that you need help on getting that money quicker, we can help you there.
Yep.
I can't stress just how much we hear of horror stories of these other factoring companies that lock people in to these just predatory rates.
Yep.
We are not about that, dude. We want people to stay in business and prosper and thrive, and we want to help you get there. So if you haven't or just want to look into smartfreightfunding.com, we'll throw the episode or we'll throw the link, in the bottom here, so you can click on that. We have a team in this office, even up in Omaha, that will gladly explain that to you. And again, there's no contracts. If you need it just for a little while, man, we would be glad to serve you in that aspect of getting you quick paid.
Yeah, exactly. We'll drop the link below. One thing I do recommend, though, is that you just recently did a podcast with Sarah Hansen of Smart Freight.
Yeah.
And that was a few episodes back. But if you're just curious, you just want to learn more, like, I don't even know what factoring is or what separates Smart Freight from other people.
Or do I really need it?
Exactly. Yeah. Just go listen to that episode. It's really good.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Anything else before we close out?
I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, again, man, happy 4th of July to you and your family. Last but not least, we do like to pray over our community. We pray every week over our community. But if you have a specific prayer request, we would be honored to pray that specific request and petition that to our Lord. You can send prayers to prayer@bulkloads.com, and it is anonymous. We have a team here that we will pray over that. So yeah, make sure and do that. And Tyler, you want to close us out?
You bet. Lord, we just come to you today, just thank you and praise you, Lord. We just lift up all of our members in our trucking community right now. Lord, we just know that there's a lot of financial hardships going on right now, and we just lift them up and ask you to just provide peace and strength for them to continue on, Lord. We ask that this week you just bless everyone with the 4th of July, Lord. We just ask that you keep everyone safe. Nobody has any accidents or anything like that, Lord. We also just lift up any of the victims of the flooding that is going on right now, Lord. We just ask that you be with them and with their families, Lord. We ask that no matter what we do, we shine your light always, Lord. And we ask that no matter who we're dealing with, whether it's customers or just interacting with people every day, Lord, there's no doubt in their mind that we serve you, Lord. We love you and we thank you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, as always, for listening to the BulkLoads Podcast. If you haven't yet, make sure and hit the subscribe button down in the lower left. And also, this is a free resource. We would love for you to share this with others out there that they can benefit and know more about what's going on in the trucking industry. So, yeah, please share this if you don't mind sharing it out there. And as we always close out, thank you very much, and God bless the USA. Thank you.